Hi, I'm Tiffany Mentoor. I am an arts administrator, and previously you could say I was an artist. And I live and work in Joburg. Today I'll be speaking to you about, or rather sharing knowledge, the knowledge that I've sort of learned over the past few years about how to treat your art practice as a business. It's important to treat your practice as an artist with the same sort of professional engagement as an accountant or as a doctor or as a constructor. Anything that requires you to pay the bills. Artists are not very good at admin. Doesn't allow for you to actually have the space to be creative. But it's important for you to understand that this is something that you chose to do as a profession and that you need to pay the bills. So how do you put systems in place that allow you to do that and to build yourself as an artist and to maintain your goals and your momentum, but also live, because we have very real bills: Wi-Fi, rent, perhaps you want to own a property, you want to start a family. The notion that artists are struggling is problematic and it is archaic. We are living in a space and in a time and in a context when artists actually have a lot of information. Everyone has a lot of information at their fingertips, literally. And you do not need to be spending exorbitant amounts of money in order to get ahead and in order to achieve your goals in life and in your practice. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything. It just means, for me, I think it's crucial that you inform yourself about how things work. Administration is tedious, it can be daunting, it can be overwhelming, business jargon is confusing. It's the same thing as trying to read a medical journal when you've not studied or practiced medicine. But it's really about taking the initiative to inform yourself as to how things work. A major issue in the arts and in the creative space is that because we refuse, not necessarily refuse, but because we are intimidated by these things, we are often exploited as creatives. And people can take advantage of the fact that we do not want to concern ourselves with this knowledge. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to concern yourself with that knowledge, but you need to make sure then that the people that you surround yourself with are able to advise you. It takes a lot of time to work on administration. Running a business is not for the faint-hearted. It is much easier and simpler, especially with other factors and stressors in life, to actually just get a normal 9 to 5. And you are able to then plan because you have a certain amount of money coming in every month. Being an artist, there are not clear systems in place that allow for that. So thinking about your practice as an artist, as a business, allows you to sort of create the correct systems for you. So let's get into you looking at your business as an artist. The most important thing is that you are consistent. The same way that you are consistent in the way you represent yourself as an artist, you need to have that same consistency. Being professional is just about taking yourself seriously and understanding that every single engagement that you have is a business opportunity. Looking into business, you have your core practice or your core business. If you were selling a product or manufacturing a product, you would need to understand what your costs are for producing that product, your shipping, your delivery. But your main thing when you are looking at a business plan and even your corporate identity, which is your branding for your company, is what is your core business? What are you known for? And we are already taught that as creatives. If you are a dancer or a choreographer, that is what you focus on. If you are a digital artist, that is what you focus on. There are very clear examples of how artists have used their practice and worked in such a way that there's a clear corporate identity or artistic identity, and that's important. As an artist or as a creative, you have a strategy. Even if you are going into academia, you need to understand that what is my end goal? Where do I see myself in 10 years? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Those things seem like very silly questions that one would be asked in a job interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? But when you are asking those things for yourself, it's about setting goals for yourself. Looking at your core, looking at business structure versus how you structure your artistic career, the similarities are there. You need to have a strategy. You need to have a plan. You can add very personal goals to that. How even outlandish goals. If your dreams do not scare you, I'm not sure that you're doing the right thing. It's really scary, and you can take it very slowly. But if you had a dream of having your work exhibited in a top museum or added to a collection of a museum, then you need to research and speak to people and strategize and build your career around getting to that goal. And along the way, just like an artistic journey or creating and making work, you'll find other joys and different things, and it builds you and it feeds you and it adds to your creativity. The same can be said for a business. The first 2 years of a business is extremely difficult. It's about understanding that your business and your company needs to be making money. You need to be able to cover your operational costs. You need to be able to pay salaries. There are taxes involved. You need to pay accountants. It sounds very daunting, but there are so many ways of making a plan and finding a way. And that's exactly what artists and creatives are good at. But just in terms of setting different goals, even personally, anything and everything can be run as a project. A project has a start, a middle, and an end. There's a planning phase, an implementation phase, and you need to close it. So you could treat something as simple as a gathering of friends, a dinner, a braai, as a project. There is a clear scope, there are clear objectives, there are risks, there are deliverables, there are dependencies, there's a task list, there's a timeline. So implementing all of these things that you would learn professionally and adapting it into your everyday life is a very quick, easy way for you to implement professional practice into your work. Once you start making these things habit, you become more efficient. And that is the key, I think, or it goes back again to consistency. It's important to be consistent with your practice as a creative. It's important to be consistent with your practice as a business. So once you are in the habit of doing things, you become more efficient. You create systems that work for you. There are different ways that you can run your business. You could be a sole proprietor, which means that you are essentially your company. You could register a propriety limited, that's a PTY Ltd, and that is what used to be a closed corporation. You could register a non-profit company and run things differently if your goal is not to make profit, but to run projects. The important thing is that you seek professional advice when it comes to financial planning, financial advice, when it comes to taxes. The South African Revenue Service has actually got, it's very daunting when you think of taxes, but they've got really useful guidelines and their customer service is really helpful. CIPC, which is where you register your companies, have also got all of these documents. Various banking institutions now also offer registration of a company with opening a bank account. All of these systems are swiftly moving along in becoming more streamlined and easy to use for the average person. But the most important thing is that you inform yourself about all of the different steps and what is required of you and the legal ramifications or legal ramifications. I'm using the same jargon, but you get my point. When going into business, it's important that you do seek advice and shop around. Don't go with the first person who says that they can register a company for you. Don't rush into things. The same way that you don't rush into making work, the same way that you take your time and consider and research, allow yourself that time. Your career as an artist is not a quick thing. Your art career and a career in general is a decision and it's a commitment. And you really need to ask yourself and remember this. Why have I decided to do this? One of the things that's very daunting for us, I know I struggled with this, is budgeting. Budgets are basically a map. It's a financial map. It's not set in stone, just like plans that we make just dissipate or change drastically. It's literally a map. There are two ways of doing it. You need to allocate certain amounts. So if you start off with a certain amount of money, I've got X amount of money. I need to achieve Z. How am I going to do that with the resources that I have? So you have a plan in place, you have a clear amount of income that is definitely available. But what we also forget, and we practice like this as artists, is that your resources are not all cash or capital. You need to do an audit of the connections that you've made, the people that you know. There's nothing wrong with bargaining when it comes to prices. Understand what you can offer other people. What do you have that is a currency? It's important that we also look at our practice holistically. It's not just about making an impact. It's not just about social change and social impact. It's also about economic impact. How many collaborations do artists generally make with people from all over the world? That is international relations. We are sharing our cultures, we are changing perspectives. What we need to focus on now is finding a way to make all of these things economically viable. So consistency and understanding your business as an art practice and your art as a business is crucial to making this happen. It's very difficult for us currently because globally funding is an issue. Art funding is not something that is a standard practice in a lot of countries. And there are several art organizations that provide funding. That funding comes with terms and conditions. And it's money that you apply for, you do your project, you have to report on, and you've done your project. It's really simple, but it can come with other things. You need to be able to manage relationships and deliver on what you are contracted on. Read contracts, read them. It's daunting. Ask someone to help you. Google the meaning of stuff. You know, even if it's someone that you know, like your mother's friend's child's cousin is studying law, you are not getting professional advice, but that person could be able to translate the contract for you. Ask questions. If you are not happy with something, do not sign and go ahead. Stop working from a place of desperation. We're not pleading poverty. We need to take agency. You have made a decision to be an artist. So what are you doing for yourself? How are you upskilling yourself? How are you armoring yourself? How are you getting yourself there? And it doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be difficult. And it doesn't have to be scary. Just, you've already taken the leap of faith and decided to be an artist in different contexts where being an artist is seen as, I don't know, lazy, frowned upon, you're not going to make money. We need to change that perspective collectively. It is important that you practice business in your artistic practice. A few tips, something that I learned from engaging with people and doing an audit of who I have around me. My uncle is a project manager. One of the things that I always find hilarious, because we don't think about it, but we need to consciously implement it, is CYA. So CYA means cover your ass. Cover your ass in as many ways as possible. Think about how you make commitments. If you have said that you are going to do something, then you need to do it. If you cannot do it, then you need to communicate that. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm sorry, I'm really busy at the moment. If this is not urgent, perhaps we could take it up another time. If you are running late, it's as simple as that. Let people know as soon as you know so that they can plan and do other things. It also helps you to maintain your relationships with people. It's about mutual respect and about treating people the way you would want to be treated or the way that you want to treat people. Again, consistency is key. Cover your ass. Email communication. Read your contracts. Do not put yourself in situations where you will be compromised legally, financially, even in your soul. Don't compromise your happiness either. All of these things don't have to be that complicated or that difficult. It's very simple. How do I do this in the most efficient way that doesn't complicate my life, that doesn't stress me out, but maintains a happy balance? Because already it's really just difficult to be happy. Just as a human being, it can be challenging. So don't add stress to your life. That's the plan or the way that I prefer to work. Beyond paying bills, you need to prepare yourself for when you get older. Find out at your banking institution, they've got information and they can advise you accordingly about retirement, about saving plans that allow you to save up certain money with interest or without interest, but then allow you to also do projects when you have access to that money. Think about things like that. How are you generating money? What is your plan? Artists do not retire. We have ups and downs, and because we don't think about these things or have these structures in place, we end up never retiring. If you want to have children, if you want to have a family, if you already have children, you know that never mind the fact that you have to look after yourself and you have bills and you have running and operational costs, you also then have to look after other people, whether they are your children or whether you have people who are dependent on you. Thinking like this allows you to plan your life and structure things in such a way that you can do things and plan towards them. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It takes a lot of courage, just like being an artist. So bear in mind that you always have to revisit your business plans and your goals, and that you will have to shift and be flexible and allow that journey to get you to that end goal. Good luck, and remember that being an artist is being a business. You are your brand, and make your life as simple as possible to achieve those goals.